The old plant. How you doing? Yo, Steve. You're eating lo mein? Steve, I don't know why, but I thought about you when I saw like another vid. I don't know if I should send it to you. It's another stupid stuff like that. Sometimes, you know, you get baited by the YouTube algorithm and you end up watching stuff that's just so funny and useless. You know what? We might, Steve, we're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch it at the end of the stream. Or actually, we could watch it now. Let me try to find it. Let's watch it right now. Give me a sec. I'll try to find it. Oh, I found it. Okay, one sec. All right, I hope you guys are ready. You just pause the music. We're almost at the good part. Alright, enough internet for today, guys. Oh my god, dude. Dude, Asians really have like this way of doing reality shows, dude. They're really good at it. Oh my god, dude. That's just like insane stuff. Oh man. It's good stuff, honestly. Had a good laugh out of that. Uh, alright. Going back to Elden Ring. Oh man. Give me a sec. Let me just move stuff around on the on my laptop. I stream properly. Stupid shit? Yeah, I mean, it's obviously stupid. The comments on that vid were also pretty funny. uh, you show the stats? Yeah, absolutely. It's a good stat spread. Like, this is a very good build. Like, this is like one. I would say like this is. I would even say this might be the best stat spread for a 150 dex build. Like, this is very strong. I know like 38 end for 150 standard is a little bit on the medium lower side, but it's more than enough. And you know, you reach that 80 strength, you don't really need more than 16 dex or 16 strength, sorry, on the dex build. So this is some very strong stats. Like, this is as optimal as it gets. Very good stat spread for this one. Man. At 125, 60 dex is enough. At 125, 55 dex is enough. Like, at 125, you should be rocking either 50 dex or 55. But, you know, like, 150 is 150. 80 dex. Oh, we're at the spot with lasers. Good. Whoa, just noticed the parry. Do I have something that's unparryable? Let's try this. Well, that's the first invasion for you. It's just the unfortunate timing, though. I don't think I had my... Did I have my physic? I didn't even see it. Yeah, I got Elden wrong, but you know, that's what happened when you commit a little too much. Also, you know, the curse of the first invasion as always. Sometimes in this game, going against multiple people, I mean, it happened to me like more than a few times. The hyper armor sometimes will kill you because you're basically gonna take damage from multiple sources while never getting stunned. Whereas if you would have gotten stunned, you basically would not have eaten a full blender. But sometimes the hyper armor fucks you up. I blocked that. Not do the running. I'm really liking this build though. Like, the whole, like, you know, the dagger is a very strong, like, base weapon which keeps prio. That's very good. You can really put any ash on it, so you can put like a defensive ash like BHS. And then the Rakshasa swap has one-handed hyper armor, which is pretty rare in this game. And so the Rakshasa is your big damage, the dagger is like your chip damage and your whiff punish. And because you're at 80 dex, the dagger does pretty decent damage too. And also because you're using stuff that's one-handed, like there's not that many talismans that are actually like useful for your build, so you can like sort of set up your talisman a little differently than you normally would with like other stuff. And so like, you know, like here the only damage tally we have is Shard of Alexander. If you didn't have like soft swap crossbow, you could also have like, you know, you could remove like Great Jar and make stuff fit like without it and like free up another talisman. So you should like look at Great Jar as some sort of like, the crossbow is basically the extra talisman, sort of, because the crossbow requires that tally, otherwise it would be too heavy. Or, you know, you could also, like, if you would rather have another free talisman slot, you could lower your dex and up your endurance. That's usually that's a better compromise for most builds, although with this one, I think having 80 dex is probably a good thing. Great player. Puffin, thanks for the resub for 25 months, man. Holy smokes. Our stance bandit better than sellsword? No, dude, sellswords are better. We are going to play with our stance bandit though. Do you play claw? I have a normal controller grip, normal controller layout, but when I go for swaps, I indeed claw, depending on what I'm doing. So like right now I'm holding my controller normally, but when I'm sprinting and opening my menu, I claw my right hand, and then when I'm swapping here, I'm clawing my left hand. But if I'm not doing any of that, let me see here. I think I usually claw my right hand even if I'm not menuing, now that I look at it. But normally, like, my hands will be, like, in a normal position. But for the most part, I definitely don't claw my left hand at all, unless I'm swapping specifically. But my right hand really switches a lot between claw and just normal grip. Yo, FIFO, thanks for the resub for 30, man. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I really like this setup. Like, it's a lot of fun. It has some good swaps. Like even if I'm not really used to swapping to Hand of Millennia, because like, you know, when you swap to Hand of Millennia, obviously you're trying to get the full big combo, and most of the time, like a swap at that range, you'll want to use rock, because the rock is just like better overall at more situations. So it's gonna be difficult to find like a situation where this one makes more sense. Usually it's like if someone is like cornered, like, you know, if they were like here, then, you know, they'd not have a choice but to go through you. So Hand of Millennia can be good there, but it's nice also to have the option for Sword of Night to go through shield. You know, there's a lot of PvEers that rock the Great Shield, And Sword of Knight is fantastic at dealing with that. And then Fox, I've always had trouble like using Fox properly. Like Fox can be like very oppressive if used right, but I just think I have not used it enough to like utilize this Ash properly from Fox. So I think it's just like a problem with never really using that thing. Also, I just realized I didn't put the music back on. I'm gonna do this after that. You know, for a build like this, if you wanted, you could like lower your your dex a little bit, and you could like change your Great Jar Arsenal for like a Millicent Prosthesis. Wow, this game. My crossbow was unloaded, otherwise it was dead. See, like, stuff like that. It's when you start the game again. You got saved there. If that crossbow was loaded, he was dead. You get the dry leaf explosion as a swap? No, I have not. Let's see, where is it? I think dry leaf makes for a good swap, but like Dex just has so many strong options for swaps that, you know, like it would be worth exploring all the possible good swaps in more than like one instance of making an inventory. Like you could make a lot of variation of what I did there, for instance. But I think the most useful part about the dry leaf would probably be like the big explosion, like fully charged through walls. That would be something that could be useful for a build like this. It's just gonna fog wall. Sorry. Yo, what's up, Baldwin? How you doing, man? Yeah, the racks, the thing with rack swaps, the reason why I've, you know, like I know I've been using strength for the longest, but ever since rack came out, I always had on the back of my mind that, you know, rack swap was like the best swap. And like playing with it, like, you know, again today and last stream when we did Dex, it's quite obvious that the Rakshasa is like probably the best swap that you can have in this game. Because the Ash of War is a roll catch, it has good range, and it's an hyper armor attack with very strong, like with very, very strong hyper armor. Like it's gonna have hyper armor priority over almost everything. So it really feels like Lido in Dark Souls 3. And Lido is, you know, one of the very best swap in Dark Souls 3 as well. So like rack swap is just like here. Oh wow, that clipped me. Con throwing attack is like 600 damage in one hand. Thank you so much for the donation. And Yasuki, do you mean like the R2, the jump attack, or the Ash? Oh, we can try it. Beast Roar damage is insane on Dex, very strong swap too. I'm sure it's pretty good, but on this build we have the crossbow, which quite frankly is, you know, like the Beast Roar is good, the crossbow is broken. So for this, I decided to go with crossbow for my range. Obviously, not exactly the same purpose. Nah, Beast Roar scales with Dex. Best thing for you is Sword of Knight versus Great Shield. Yeah, Sword of Knight is definitely very useful, but I think the best thing about Dex though is Rakshasa. For most situations, like Rakshasa is a big deal. Then, you know, another strong thing about Dex, like the Wakizashi is one of the strongest option that Dex has. Like it's an extremely strong weapon in 1v1. Like Wakizashi and shield is very, very strong. Like it's gonna shut down a lot of stuff. And then, you know, the thing is that the Wakizashi is the perfect complement to a Rakshasa swap as well. Because Rakshasa is long range, hyper armor. And then the Wakizashi is short range, fast attack, no hyper armor. So it's really the perfect complement. Because very often you'll prime your target. See, like that finish with the crossbow is just perfect. And also the rock gives a good, like, you know, like Wakizashi running attack doesn't poise break and doesn't have that much range, whereas the rock swap has hyper armor, range, and poise. I said hyper armor and poise, but yeah, basically like range and hyper armor. And again, because you're using most of your stuff one-handed, the build is not heavy on talismans. Like you're not dependent on like a crouch attack talisman or a two-handed talisman. Like you don't need to equip a bunch of tallies to do your damage. Your damage just comes naturally. That's why I think it's important to have 80 dex. You could definitely like make a variation of this where you have you know, you have Millicent Prosthesis, you have Rotten Wing Insignia, and you have that damage kick in as soon as you start, let's say, the Weed Cutter Ash of War. Because, like, let's say you do, like, you know, that, and then, you know, you go for an attack and then an Ash of War. Then your damage is going to be very high when you're going to be landing that Ash. But I've always been more of a fan of consistency, so I'd rather get the good damage in every situation as opposed to the high damage when I get hits in. Don't you need Lance Jump or something very specific to break it? Yeah, Rakshasa Hyper Armor is kind of broken. Like, there's only a few things that can break it. Like, you need weapons that do, like, extremely high poise damage. Like, a two-handed crush or crouch attack will be able to reliably break it. The Lance Jump R2 will be able to break it, but, like, most jumping are, like, you could do, like, a Gog's Jump R2 and you won't be able to break it. Like, the thing they did, nerfing the hyper armor for the follow-up, is completely useless, though, because, like, when you're trading with Rakshasa, like, you're gonna stun people on the first attack, really. And so, like, if you're going up against, like, let's say someone's doing a colossal sword jump R2 at you, like you don't really care about tanking the follow-up, because you're going to be tanking the first hit and then you're going to be hitting them twice, and because they're low recovery, you're likely going to stun in between their arc armor, because Weed Cutter hits multiple times fairly fast. This can also play against you. Like, I've had instances where, you know, you're gonna trade with someone with like another big hyper armor weapon, like let's say a Crusher Crouch, and then they'll roll out or they'll attack again, and then you might actually lose that trade, because when they do attack, like they have like 17% extra defense and you have lower defense because you're using Rock. Also, another benefit of having Rock as a swap and not as a main weapon is that you basically get access to the swap without really, you know, you're not using the weapon all the time, so you don't get the damage penalty that Rakshasa gives you. So technically you have access to the Ash while limiting the drawbacks that the weapon was built around. Yeah, small axes are another one. I think like you can do two-handed great swords, but not one-handed. You know, like there's a few ones, like I forgot if you need like over. Okay, 600 hyper armor and 800 with Bulgot. Well, there you go. Like you basically have to look at weapons that have like poise damage higher than that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think regular axes do more poise damage than great axe for whatever reason. Typical From Software fashion with stuff that makes zero sense. What needs 16 strength? If you want access to Golem Great Bow, 16 is the minimum to be able to use it. Now, as far as weapons go, let me have a look here. I guess Twin Blades require 16. There's not really that much now that I look at it. About the crossbow, I think you would be able to get away. Okay, Hand of Millennia requires 16. So Hand of Millennia and Twin Blade would be the weapons you sacrifice, which, you know, they're not key for the build. You could technically optimize it without Hand of Millennia and without like the Twin Blade, and you'd be saving on points. You could probably get away with 12. You're also sacrificing the Great Bow, which, to be honest, it really depends on what you're going for. He would stop walking. I think I'm just going to go toward them. Oh, this guy is let's just kill this one. Not gonna drink my physic yet. This guy's a danger to society, dude. I think we're just gonna Hand of Millennia him. Okay, well, guess that happened. Okay, this guy's actually coming. Let's just helmet swap for 5 strength. Yeah, you could do that. You could absolutely do that. Although right now, like, if you wanted to, you could helmet swap for that 5 strength and have access to Lance, right? Like, if you wanted to play with Lance. But I think it's a good point that you could probably, like, save 4 points in there, have, like, 42 endurance, and have like 12 strength instead of 16. You could definitely do that. I think it would be probably a little more optimal to do that, but you lose a little bit of that miscellaneous stuff that you might or might not use. I think the great bow is always like important to have for invasions, but technically you'd still be able to use great bow, just a different one. Like you'd lose some damage on the great bow, so it's not like you'd be losing the great bow, you'd just be losing golem and you'd be using another one. So it might actually be worth it for great bow to go lower than that. Then twin blade, you know, the build is not focused on twin blade, and like someone said, like, you know, you could just put on a helmet for the stuff that you really need more strength to use. Can you do the drop landing with bone bow? I think you can do it with every bow, I'm not mistaken. But like bone bow, I'm actually curious. What's the stats for bone bow? Bone bow actually only requires 8, so that's a pretty... So you could technically have bone bow close to your inventory, you know, for the landing, like you said. So really the only thing I would be losing here would be Hand of Millennia. So I think that's a good it's a good comment. It's a good comment to ask why not, like, let's say 12 here instead of 16. I think for the most part, you know, like same thing with this build. When I made the build, I didn't make the inventory, then make the stats. I made the stats and then made an inventory afterward. And so the stats are not necessarily adjusted to the weapon choice. They're more like general stats. So if you were someone playing with whatever weapon, this stat spread would suit better because you'd have more options. But if you're specifically playing with, you know, some weapons, then you could optimize it further. Like, you know, reducing the strength to 12 would be a good idea here. And what that would give us, like, as a straight upgrade would be that, you know, you lose Hand of Millennia here, but you gain a little more defense because these 4 extra points would go in endurance, get the 42 endurance, and then you'd basically get a little better armor. Like right now, my armor for the arms is this one. I'd be able to get the Solitude gauntlets here, for instance. Or perhaps another thing that I didn't see is maybe if you scrape 4 points, let's say you scrape 4 points out of endurance and you scrape 5 points off of dex, maybe you'd be able to put all these points into endurance and then free up a talisman slot for Millicent Prosthesis. So you basically go back to 80 dex, right? So you don't really lose dex damage that way. Let's say for instance, let's say we have, instead of Erdtree Favor, maybe we have Millicent Prosthesis here. We lose a little bit, you know, of that stuff, but we have like 75 dex, and we gain the points that we're not using from strength, and so we gain 4 in strength and 5 in dex, so we gain 9 points, and then you can put that into endurance and have something that's a little more like optimized weight wise, and you have like permanent extra damage on multi-hits. Basically, you could definitely do that. Give me a sec, guys, I'll be right back. Yo, Whitnix, thanks for the resub for 55 months, man. Really appreciate that. Okay, so, you could also just use the bird helmet. Yeah, you could use the bird helmet if you wanted to. Like, you could always, you can always push for points. But I'm actually curious. Let's try. First of all, how much? Okay, this also requires 12. Like, you're not even sacrificing your shield. You know what? Let's do it. Let's go to Ronaldo and let's optimize this a little further. Before we do that, though, let's just see, like, for the other great bows. Because technically, you want the great bow mostly for the ability to knock off, not necessarily for... Also have black bow that you could be using, too, you know? This one requires 22. This one requires 20. And I think Igon even less. If I can find it. Where's Igon? Oh, there it is. Igon. Igon's 23 strength, so... But basically, you'd probably be using this one. I think you could be using the great bow at 12. So let's do that, actually. Alright, let's go see Ronaldo. Now the question is going to be whether... Like, we're gonna try at first...
Is it thy wish? Now.
We're gonna try at first the 75 with permanent Millicent. Oh, but this is the fucking Vagabond starting class, so the strength to start with is 14, so you can't actually go 12. Okay, well, that changed things a little bit. Alright, we're just gonna see, just for fun, though, like, what we can do with this. We get, like, 45 here. We could technically, like, lower this and get a little higher, but... You need 14 to use Great Bow anyway. Igon is the superior version of Ungon? Yeah, true. Let's try it anyway. I know, like, we're losing 2 points here by doing that. But, like, for instance, right now we would want to know if we would have the weight. Yes, we have the weight to replace Earthly Favor. Do we have the weight? No, we don't have the weight to replace the Bullgoat Tally, so we are sacrificing something by doing that. But we are getting a little bit more damage. So, I mean, it's gonna be up to you to see if that sort of sacrifice is worth it or not. Like, you're freeing up 1 tally slot by doing that. And quite frankly, I think I'd rather have Bullgoat over Prosthesis, but, you know, we're using Prosthesis to reach 80 dex now, so it's a little of a different spread. And we're sacrificing a bit of health, you know, a bit of stam to do that. So, you know, it's a give-give. It's not necessarily, like, better overall to do that. And also, you're not really optimizing breakpoints. I think you'd need probably another starting class to do that. I wonder if the new Knight, Heavy Knight is, I think, 15 strength to start with. So maybe it would be worth considering another starting class for this. Let's go back to what we originally had. We're gonna keep we're gonna keep the 16 and 80. But, you know, it was worth considering. It gives, like, another idea, another option. I think this might be a little bit more balanced overall. Yo, Alluvial, thanks for the gifted sub, man. I really appreciate that. Dude, for some reason, my fucking... Oops. My Stream Element dashboard is not working. It's not showing, like, any fucking subs or anything. Quite annoying. Yep. This stupid thing is not working. I'm gonna have to figure that out afterward. Samurai has 12 strength, it would be better than Vagabond. I'd have to see like all the other stats, see what's better. Maybe Hero would be better, I have no idea. I would have to run the numbers. Mind, yeah, you're basically like gaining 1 point with the samurai. The Redditor starting class. I think what we have for stat spread right now is a little bit more like balanced overall. Because you have like access to more weapons. You know, maybe you're not gonna be using the exact weapons we have right now in the inventory. Maybe you're gonna be tempted to use other stuff. You're gonna be able to. Get that too early. Let's figure out how to get up there, or just try to flush them out. Wonder if we can shoot on that in that hole. If we toggled the crossbow instead of healing, we probably would have been able to kill him. But it would have been more risky. Guys, what are the stats for the new Light Knight? You guys know by heart what the stats are? You know what I mean, right? The new Tarnished class that's not out yet, the light one. I know it has 12 mind, but... Oh yeah, it also has like a lot of fate, if I remember right. I think it has like 12 fate. Would probably not be as optimal. I mean, again, guys, you could be using like Bird Helm and not like ask yourself questions. But even Bird Helm here, like you'd not take full advantage of it because technically, like for Bird Helm, you'd want to still have lower than 14. Do that calculation with 80 dex, 42 end, and 12 strength. It'd be better than Vagabond by 1 point, yeah. Like, you know, if we just really quickly do a little exercise of looking at all the weapons we could potentially be using on a dex build or that we might want to use. Like looking at stuff that has like a 16 strength requirement. Could check like really quickly. I don't think the straight swords would have it. You'd have like you know, that's a good like dex weapon. The knight's great sword, you'd lose access to that, so that's one. What else? Let's see. It has a, you'd lose access to Zwei, because Zwei you can still use it here with a talisman or a helmet swap. I guess you could still do both the helmet swap and the talisman swap, but it starts getting really bad. But like right now, for instance, you could just use bird helmet and be able to use Zwei. So you lose access to the colossal, you lose access to the lance technically. Guess you'd lose access to... Now you still be able to use Stitcher. The curved greatsword, quite frankly, I don't think are really important on this build. So losing access to that is meaningless. You lose access to Kiba, because right now you could... Actually, you would not lose access to Kiba. You could still element swap to use Kiba at 14 strength. 14 strength would still be doable. You could still use Naga Kiba. You could still use Great Katana even though I don't really think that's any useful when you have Rock. Again, you'd lose the... Oh, actually, you could still use Twin Blade. You'd be using Twin Blade instead of the Twin Sword, or the Twin Knight Sword. That's interesting. So you'd still have access to a Twin Blade. Okay. You'd still have access to an axe like this one. I mean, quite frankly... I don't really think you'd need to use axes. I don't think you'd need, like, Stone Club on a dex build. Same thing with, like, Ring Finger. Like, those are some very niche swaps. Colossals, I don't think this is the build for that. I guess you'd lose access to your Nagi Nada, like your Power Stance Nagi, you know? Will require a helmet anyway. Same thing with, like Mesmer or Lance. You lose access to those if you want to use them, but you could still have the Halberd at 14. I mean, honestly, I think there's a real debate here. I think there's a real debate as to if it's better to have 14 strength instead of 16. I think there's a real debate. Because quite frankly, like there's not really that much stuff that warrants it. Like looking at it. I guess the biggest reason is... Oops. I guess the biggest reason is Hand of Millennia. That thing requires 16. And it is technically like a one-shot when you need it. So... that's probably like your only reason. Like your only reason for this is actually Hand of Millennia. Because everything else you have workaround. Like you could use another Great Bow. You could use another Twin Blade. Like, you lose access to the stuff that you would be able to use with a helmet swap. But quite frankly, it's not really key. Like, you don't need to use Vi on this build, for instance. Like, you don't need to. You have more than enough options to, like, not use that. It's nice to always be able to use a Colossal, but... Is 14 taking into account the two-handed modifiers? No, it's not, but most of the stuff that you'd want to use would be for the Ash of War swap, or... Because, you know, you could still use Hand of Millennia, but it wouldn't be a quick swap anymore. Because you'd need to swap to it then... Oops. then two-handed. So it would be a very slow process. Like, it would not be usable on the same setup as much. But again, like I said earlier, Hand of Millennia here is not critical, because technically Weed Cutter like serves a similar purpose while also serving you in more situations. Like, every time you can use like Hand of Millennia, it's safer to use Weed Cutter basically. Like, the Hand of Millennia is way more unsafe, way more risky. But if you land it, you gotta kill, basically. So I think right now, I think there could be a debate for me to like remove Hand of Millennia, let's say. Replace that for like a quick Palm Blast swap maybe. And then just lower my strength by 2, put these 2 points in endurance, and maybe like keep everything the same and just get better gauntlets for like a little better defense. Probably gonna fog wall me. Yeah, he already fog wall. So I think it's an interesting debate whether you go 16 or not. I think the logical thing would actually be to go 14 here. You go 14 and then you basically get these instead. Actually, would you even be able to? They're significantly heavier. I didn't realize. This is a lot heavier. Or, you know, you could go 155 or 165 and not have to ask questions. The Beastmaster is good for, yeah, I like them because I actually don't use them for the stats. I use them more because they fit with the armor. Missed. Unfortunate. We might get fog walled here. I mean, bro. Let's just finish this. It's just panic rolling. I'm trying to like make it more interesting than it really is because the guy's just panic rolling. The right play is just to keep the same weapon and just roll catch him to death. I'm just trying to time something for the fun of it. Is 50 the bare minimum you aim for main damage stat? Honestly, it depends. Like, it depends on what level you're playing at. It depends on the type of build you want to make. Like Veil, for instance. Back when we played at 125, for the longest he was running a strength build that had 48 strength. because he preferred having high endurance over having like high strength, because high endurance meant that he freed up all his talisman slots. And you know, when you free up talisman slots, people don't realize that, but it results in more damage. Because, you know, like if you're not using Great Jar Arsenal, you're using like, you know, two-handed or retaliatory or, you know, or Millicent or you name it. So freeing up a talisman slot is something that a lot of time is worth it, like sacrificing damage to free up talisman slots. So it depends on what you're playing with. Because like right now, if you apply the same thing to what we're using now, like this build does not really benefit a lot from a lot of talismans. Damage wise, I mean, right? Like it doesn't benefit from two-handed tally, doesn't benefit from cross tree, lacerating tree, like running attack, crouch attacks. I mean, they're great to have, don't get me wrong, but like it's not really the crux of the build. Like it's better to just do just a bit more damage every time rather than only in these cases. The only one that could be argued that is a good, that could be a good addition, like obviously Shard of Alexander here is important because a lot of our damage is done with the Wheat Cutter, so Shard of Alexander makes sense. But the other argument would be to use the Millicent Prosthesis that gives 5 dex and sacrifice that 5 dex and put it into endurance and like sacrifice the talisman like we did earlier, like sacrifice Herd Tree for Millicent and you lower your dex to 75. How many players in there? One guy. All right. Same foes that block me. This guy's just hiding behind the post. Let's just... It's people that pick these really great arenas, right? Let's just run away. I misspaced that, like he completely whiffed. Like we outplayed him on that, but the execution was bad. The fuck is that? No one does that. I think he did that by accident. In our case, I think we might be able to tank him. I blocked that. Would Swaddling Clot work? Yeah, Swaddling Clot, like in a duel, like more often, even in this instance, like it's just muscle memory to switch to Blessed Dupe, but in duels like that, Godskin is usually better. Especially with like the type of weapon I'm using, like, you know, with this you get a lot of multi-hits. So like one Godskin Swaddling Clot here would have been better than any region that I would have had throughout the fight with Blessed Dupe. So yes, you're absolutely right, Godskin works here. But yeah, that dagger is super strong though. It's a very, very powerful 1v1 setup. Very, very deadly. This basically fits like right under Clean Rot as far as like stuff that's like dominant in 1v1. How many people here? Oh, there's a full squad. You see 2 here, but there could be someone else hiding. Bro. Oh, really? I mean, the crossbow is super handy for finishing off people. Wacky is way more skilled than what? I don't think it's like, I think you're right. Like Wakizashi is like a weapon that does require like some finesse from the player's end, but the problem is that the shield, which is usually what it's paired with, the shield like is brain dead. The shield like makes, like, it trivializes so many setups. So like, you're correct when you say that Waki is a skilled weapon, but the shield is the complete opposite. The shield just shuts down most stuff without any effort. It's just a hard counter to a lot of things. It's a shield, how can it be brain dead? Well, it's just that you neutralize any sort of pressure. You don't have to roll a lot of stuff. Like, shields are they're different depending on the game and how powerful they are. And in this game, like, for instance, if I block, let's say, a greatsword, I'm gonna get the counter attack. Like, you know, like, let's do it here. Like, that counter attack, like the one you just saw there, the guard counter, it basically it's going to break anything that my enemy will do, like hyper armor wise. Shield Talisman isn't necessary with medium shield. It's not. I mean, it depends. If you're going against fist weapon, you're not gonna block stuff. It's like if you're going against a sight, you're not gonna block stuff. But like, people are gonna be forced to switch to like fist and sight because they're gonna be like hard countered otherwise. Like if you're fighting against, let's say you're fighting against, I don't know, like, I mean, really name the weapon, like most stuff just gets hard countered by a shield. How many people in here? Oh, it's only one guy, and we got the terrible spawn. Let's just walk. Dude, we really had the terrible spawn. Where's my night rain super sprint, bro? Block cancels are useful anyway. Yeah, when you're invading, you're mostly using it for the block cancel, and sometimes it's good to have the shield to escape some situations as well. But, like, for specifically an invasion setup, you could definitely, like, consider other options for your offhand. Like, hand axe, obviously, is an obvious choice. Quite frankly, I can't really think of anything else that would make sense in the offhand here. Like, looking at all my inventory, I don't actually know, like... Because the crossbow here doesn't make sense because you can't use your ash. So the crossbow needs to be on a toggle. So the options that you have for the offhand are sort of limited, I think. Yeah, Rakshasa would work, but I'd rather have Rakshasa in the main hand. Because, like, you have to look at it this way. When you have the threat of Ice Armor in your hand, people play differently. And technically, when you're using this dagger, you want people to swing at you, because it's a good whiff-punishing weapon. So if you have the threat of Rakshasa on your offhand, you're going to be finding yourself, like, initiating a lot of the aggression. And you don't want that. What you want is you want your opponent to initiate aggression, and then you leverage that by swapping to Rakshasa and then Ice Armor trading with them. That's what you want. So the way this plays, it's very different if you have like the Ice Armor threat in the offhand or if you don't. But again, you know, it's not like Rakshasa in the offhand is a bad setup with this anyway, right? It's just, it's different. Like, they both play different. But yes, like, Rakshasa in the offhand would be like another choice. Like, there's really only two things that make sense that I can think of. Either hand axe or Rakshasa. And again, like I said, I think hand axe is good and all, but I don't really think hand axe adds as much as the shield, all things considered. Like, the shield is more of a dominant factor than hand axe is on a setup like that. I love that we spawned like so far like that. I probably should have respawned. I just decided to take the walk because the host was alone, but then like people spawned in now, so we might not have time to make it there. There's a longer hand axe that's Dex exclusive. Are you talking about the Frost one? There should be a blue in here. Yeah, there should be a blue in here. Where's that blue at? I rarely see Way 7 with that armor. Guys doing survival in the open world. That's a good point on though, like people will fear the shield. You're actually right on that. But yeah, that's another thing, right? You can also like use the shield for parries too. You can definitely do that. The blue dip, yeah, he did. Wait, what? Oh my god. I hit the joystick the wrong way. We get so many like really good pod throws and then we miss the obvious free ones. That's a good point though. Like if you use the offhand hand axe, you're gonna have access to the barbaric roar. Not barbaric roar, to Bragger's roar. And Bragger's roar, like probably one of the very best, if not the best buff you can use. It's basically like it's exactly the same as a physic effect. You get that 10% resistance across the board. So technically, maybe it would actually be a good idea to use offhand hand axe. It does change a little bit how you play this, because like, in my opinion, the best way to use this dagger is like, like R1 stagger R, like block cancel stagger R1 for a roll catch, and then you know R1 R1 or say R1. You do an R2 into staggered R2 to roll catch people because they don't have a choice but to panic roll like that. And you can't be that fast if you can't like block cancel it. So technically you'd go like that. So you do lose that little quirk, which is a bigger deal than what it might seem. Nah, dry leaf offhand, like I think it's bad. Oh, interesting trade here. I would lock onto this guy. Oh, it's the guy that spins. I think it might be a good idea that they wake up. Because once they wake up, they're not gonna get knocked back, right? Which bolts are best? Oh, it's an easy one. Sleep bolts and lightning bolts. Lightning bolts highest damage, and then sleep bolts obviously because sleep. One thing that I have not like fully tried is the frost one. You could probably experiment with the frost one just to you know, like if you're starting a fight with someone, maybe you want to frost them. But technically, if you can frost someone with a crossbow, it's probably best to sleep them instead. Like, same thing with the rot or any poison. Like, if you're gonna land that, like, you might as well just go for the sleep instead. But if they, you know, if they have the sleep resist, if they bolus away, then you can consider, like, mixing it up. So you have, like, your frost bolts, your sleep bolts. And they can't, like, have a talisman to resist, like, every fucking status element. I think that's one of the reasons why that crossbow is so busted. Like Steel said a little bit ago, like, you know, like, you can't, you can't resist poison and sleep. Wow, the eye armor trades, guys. A game where we don't stun each other. Playing Skyrim over here. So frost bolting, then exploding bolt reset? No, you don't want to reset the frost. If you have the frost, don't reset it. But yeah, like, basically, the strongest bolts are sleep, because you can sleep someone in, like, three sleep shot. And then if they have the resist, it's going to take more than that. But if they have the resist, that means they're not going to have the resist for either, like, the poison version or the frost version. So maybe it's a good idea to use those instead. Because you're going to land, like, a status in three bolt shots. If they decide to resist one, it's going to be another one. But yeah. It's very free to land those too. Like the crossbow is unreactable at close range, so. And it's very hard to react at medium range even. The best ash for axe and board. I mean, it's the usual suspect, you know, like the best ash for the axe and board is probably like sword dance. You know, like sword dance, BHS, and then You have Storm Stomp. I'd say Storm Stomp probably a little better than Flame Strike for Accent Board, but Flame Strike as well. Because with the Storm Stomp, you have Ike Armor into R2. Let me actually get ready before I go in. About the holes here also. Okay, that connected. Let's get out of here. Oh, he missed. Sort of Knight here would have been a good idea, but felt like he would just roll instead of taking the attack. Pull off. Oh, I light rolled. Escaped it because of that. Crazy how you get a teammate when you least need it in this game. Like, the design for the multiplayer is so bad that, you know, the invader gets to fight like a bunch of people when and then it's like super lopsided and unfun, whereas it would be so much more fun if the fight was a 3v2 or a 4v2 instead of a 1v3. And then once you kill the host, like, you know, if they had the tongue, well, you get to 2v1 the host instead of 1v1ing the host. Like, it makes no sense whatsoever. Really, no thought process was put into these decisions. Elden Ring multiplayer is at like 5% of its potential. I think that's a very good way to put it. I think that's a positive and realistic way to put it, because it's probably accurate. Like, the game is like so close to being so much better than this, but problem is, you know, the From Software devs don't really know any better. We don't have the No Rest for the Wicked designer making decisions for Elden Ring, unfortunately. I don't know if you guys watched the podcast with Steel, with the dev from Lords of the Fallen and then No Rest for the Wicked. I was really impressed with a lot of the stuff that the designer for Lords of the Wicked said. It made me also a little sad that No Rest for the Wicked is an isometric game. I'd probably love his game if it was like just a normal like third-person view game. It's just not my thing, the isometric stuff, because a lot of what he said is, he seems to have a clue, and it might actually be the first dev I've ever heard that actually has a clue. And what I found like also impressive about this guy is he was asking a lot of questions. Like, you know, like people always like, you know, like if you go in interviews and shit and you want to make like a good appearance, you'll say, oh yeah, I'm a very curious person. But I mean, it's their perception of themselves, but it might not be the reality. The guy didn't say I'm a curious person. The guy kept asking questions, like genuine questions, to like Steel to Soul to Frosty. The guy was like, you know, he had that that hunger to want to know more. That's how you know you see a real one when you see it. I was very impressed by that guy's interview, honestly. Very, very impressed. I wish that I wish that No Rest of the Wicked was a game that was a little more like my type. I really do. But, you know, No Rest of the Wicked is appealing to the more like Diablo type stuff. Alright, drink your physic, buddy. Oh, that lad there, that's a perfect whiff punish. Great map choice, by the way. And the crossbow is so great at flushing out people that just stall like that, you know, because all this guy was doing is just like, you know, like run away, walk away, and then like just turn and burn, really. And that's probably why he's picking these arenas where he can run away forever. And the crossbow really denies that playstyle, because you're basically like giving like free crossbow shots when you do that. So very interesting that the crossbow really hard counters that way of like just playing like purely turn and burn reactive. Yeah, on Gun, I've seen it, but you say perfectly, it's really not perfectly at all. Like, that's a lie. Like, it definitely has a lot of flaws. Like, the game was not made for third person. If they ever implement a proper third person and they fix like all the quirks that comes with it, I think I'm gonna definitely be playing it. Because, you know, I'm not really attracted to that isometric stuff, but like with the way the dev conducted the interview, like I'm actually like super curious to try the game. Because a lot of what he said is just stuff that you rarely hear from developers. Like you just don't hear that sort of stuff. Like, you know, like I almost like hesitated to, like, when I watched the full interview, I was like, do I make like a fucking Bible comment with like fucking timestamp with like every like notable thing that the dev said? I was like, okay, maybe not. Like, people are gonna make fun of me. But like, it was really that interesting. Like, you could point out like a bunch of things. There's a lot of stuff that I would have loved to ask him, especially when he was asking stuff about like how do you make like 3D combat better. Like, no one really like no one said anything. Like, no one answered him like properly or gave him any answer that really made any sense or that was worthy. I really wish that I could have given him a few things there, but you know, it is what it is. Thomas Mahler is his name. Yeah, I think that's that. Yeah, it was a great interview though. Like, really props to Steel to you know, to have the guts to, you know, to ask these people to do that sort of stuff. Like, you don't see a lot of people, like, you know, take the initiative. Like, it's more like he took the initiative to set this up, got both devs in there. Like it, you have to give a lot of credit to that, because you don't really see that sort of stuff like in our community. Like, you know, easily, like, people like Oro and Peeve and, you know, like, people that have a way bigger name could easily do that, and they never actually did. But Steel took the initiative, and he's not nearly as big as them. So, like, big props to Steel for that. I thought Frosty really had, like, nothing to add for the most part to these conversations, unfortunately. Like, it was really just rambling for the most part. But, you know, I think Frosty was, like, one of the few people that had actually played these games. So you can't really have, like, interviews with people that have no idea about the games that the devs, like, you're interviewing. It's just a bad book. But yeah, for the most part, I think the interview was great. I believe it was Frosty who pushed to organize it. Oh shit! Well, there you go then. I thought it was Steel, but if it's Frosty, that makes sense. I mean, props to him. Like, again, like, people like Oro and Peeve, like, and really any of the bigger content creator that you think of, like, you never see, like, any of the bigger content creator, like, set up this sort of stuff. So if Frosty actually initiated that stuff, like, big props to him, because honestly, that was a really good interview. But yeah, I think Frosty was a little nervous because he was, like, rambling a lot. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I wish I could have asked, but I was not there live. You know, like, they did take questions from the chat, so, like, big props to them for that as well. That's a big deal. Dude, that crossbow is so nice. Also, I think it should be mentioned that, you know, like, the two devs, like, so, like, you know, like, open, down-to-earth people that you can, like, freely speak to, right? I'm gonna be honest, like, that's pretty rare. It's definitely very rare, like, in this video game industry. Like, it's just so cool that, you know, like, people are able to set up these interviews where the devs really, like, you know, they don't really have that much to gain from doing that, other than doing it, you know, for the community out of passion. But I think it was a good thing. Very, very good. Very interesting interview. I heard that the actual interview was like 5 hours. Is that true? That the actual thing was 5 hours? I think I don't know if they said that as a joke at some point during the 2-hour one I watched. If that's the case, that's a little crazy. I wonder what got cut for this to go from 5 to 2 if that was the case. Another thing I really appreciated is how they criticized FromSoft for like not innovating. I felt like that was like, you know, it's one thing for gamers to say it. It sounds like complaint, right? But when it's a developer that says it, there's a lot more weight to that. And I feel like it needed to be said from the mouth of developers. Livestream was like 4? Damn, that's crazy. You do some same shit since Demon Souls hurt your brain. Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, that was one of the topic that they talked about. And obviously, I mean, it is accurate. I'm not sure if I can jump here. I'm not gonna take the gamble. Move a little bit here. Now we can. And also, one thing that the No Rest for the Wicked dev mentioned was the dude, the reference to the 3D style fighting is like when Gabri and I have discussions, we're always talking about it that same way. So I was really like impressed with how the dev sort of defined it and how he saw like the Souls combat. Because when I have like technical talks with Gabri, like, it really sounds like that. So hearing that from a dev like was pretty impressive. What's our latency to this guy? Oops. Can't actually seem to get even a ghost hit. Okay, this guy's net is actually really bad. Yeah. Let's fully heal and start that fight. We got another blue though. At least we broke the blue tier. The host really has a terrible connection though, so we can't actually kill the host first. There's just no way. Even when we kill this guy, it's gonna take a while. net player. I mean, it's just outplayed and saved. Like, these guys are dog water, but you can't get it finished because they keep saving each other. I thought I would let's space that. Could be another blue though. Have to be careful. Oh, shit players, but unfortunate. Like, these guys, like, legitimately are super bad, but with the shit latency from the host and his crazy range, and then the blue just hiding behind him the whole time, just made it very difficult. Like, we really, like, outplayed from start to finish, to be completely honest, but was out of healings there. Thanks, Big Steve, I appreciate it. Alright, if we can re-invade them, I'd love to shit on them. That here. Let's try here. Out of range on Starfist? Yeah, pretty much. I like the build so far. The build is very good. Like, I really like this build. I don't think we're gonna be able to re-invade them. Really unfortunate. Hate losing to shit players like that. Same desync there. Can't attack this guy back. Should be focusing on the mage. This guy's protecting him. I blocked that. There you go. Oh, he didn't care. Is Wakizashi with offhand rack worth using? Yeah, it is. It's a very good setup. But like I explained earlier, I prefer I prefer to have the rock as a swap. Also for the weed cutter, really. Do people save edit their files? Yeah, people do save edit their files. I don't, but yes, it's common. I don't have any problems with it, honestly. Like right now, like the inventory you see is like my old strength inventory where I got a bunch of stuff dropped, but technically like we're using really only one page because like the entire like pages and pages of inventory, it's all like strength build. Technically the only part we're using is this right here. From this actually maybe those two, you could say those two here, but it's like the really from this to here. So like technically you don't need, like for this one page, which is all we're using throughout this stream, for this one page you don't need like any save edit or any, you don't need to have a friend drop you stuff either. Like you could get a full inventory like that by going through the game twice. That would be enough. And that's all I've been using for, you know, like a lot, like all the last few streams I've been like the reason why I keep like the whole like dumb big inventory is because it's too time consuming to remake, and I'm gonna remake this properly when Tarnished Edition comes out, but I'm gonna remake like one page inventories like what you're seeing here. It's going to be more compact, and people think you need all this massive page stuff, but it's just like, it was just a thing that I wanted to try out, and you know, it's good and all, like it gives like more options, but quite frankly, like just this small inventory here, I don't even use like half the weapons in this one page inventory. So if you make your inventory set up properly, you don't really need more than one page. You don't, like, you can absolutely fit everything in one page like that. Funny every time, yeah. Marco always uses single page inventories. I love how Marco is a reference for swap now. You know what's crazy? Like, dude, when the game came out, like, Marco was basically at castle level of swapping, and I mean, he told me it's like by playing with me, like he wanted to try like swapping, and he eventually did. And like right now, like he mastered his few swaps. Like he uses a dex build like that, and he has his few swaps that he goes for. He has the correct timing for it, and he's one of the few people that I would say like actually use like neutral swaps properly. So props to Marco, honestly. Guys, like, you can't tell me that you suck at swapping. Like, Marco, like, he will tell you, like, he started from, like, sucking as much as you can suck at swapping. Like, he started from nothing. And if you look at him today, like, you would not suspect anything. Like, he mastered swapping over, I don't know how long, but it was probably, like, about a year or so. So, the moral of the story, if you have the guts and you're stupid enough to play Elden Ring for that much or that long, you can absolutely learn how to swap, for sure. Now, though, that's not gonna teach you how to play the game properly, though. Like, Marco is like has really good spacing and is a good player, like all things considered. So I don't expect that you'll be as successful as him because you learned how to swap. Like, the reason why he's good at swapping is because he mastered everything else too. You terrible when you first started but kept going because you liked it? Yeah, I mean, that's how you learn anything, really. You didn't even use Clean Rot this stream? I mean, this is a dex build. I don't really plan to use Clean Rot. The reason why I have Clean Rot here is I need a weapon that has a BHS. And quite frankly, if I was to make this dex build like in the best way I could, these Clean Rots would actually be like BHS Wakazashis, but I don't have enough to do it. So they end up being Clean Rot. And even in hindsight, I would probably rather have a bunch of Misericord too instead. Against this guy, I'm thinking that I want this here, Bull Goat. I want to be able to tank his attacks. I'm not really sure I want to tank that stuff anymore. Oh, he stunned me anyway. Oh, no, he didn't reload prior. Cut them down. You can only get better at things by accepting where you are and doing it. Yeah, that's a very good way to put it, Clevy. Yo, Azal, how you doing, man? Long time no see. What you been up to besides Elden Ring? I've been doing good, honestly. Like, I'd say, like, the most negative part of my life is probably just Elden Ring. So, that means I'm doing pretty well, right? Because, like, Elden Ring's not that bad. Like, it's not that painful to play a video game, let's be real. It's just, like, we're disappointed about Elden Ring because it could have been better, but no, I'm doing pretty good, honestly. Good player. Let's try a direct hit. Oh, he moved slightly. Stop it, Kevin. Kevin, don't. Bro, is he doing it on purpose, you guys think? There you go. He lost the moment he tried this spell. He was like doing these micro movements, like, you know, like these Kevins. They do that. Imagine hitting him on his way down. Ah, dude, I never thought about that. That's a good... It could be a good little challenge. Trying a pure caster? Trying a pure caster is not that bad of an idea in this game. Pure casters have a lot going for them. I mean, honestly, gravitational missile by itself is a one build army. like any build with gravitational missile like instantly has like a stupidly strong invasion build. Never seem to be able to invade anyone outside of First Step or Church of LA. A trick is actually like something that the game doesn't tell you, and I actually learned that recently myself. Even if you pick the option to invade everywhere, the game searches like different areas depending on where you are. So like, let's say for instance that you always try to invade from First Step. Well, it might not search a lot of these areas that you'd normally would search if you like move around the map a little more. So like, I can't really tell you that you should invade from one specific location in particular, but you should like move around the map as you try to invade, because it's going to search for different places. And also you need to spam the invasion item, unfortunately. Otherwise, you're not going to find a lot of invasions if you just let it search by itself. You have to spam it. Is that confirmed to be true? Yeah, I had that confirmed to be true recently. Apparently, it was confirmed to be true since the game came out. Like, someone data mined that stuff like a while ago. He actually... Interesting. Yeah, fuck it, let's heal as well. Let's try to kill him with R2s. Dude, that might not be that bad at all. What's the AR on this? Oh, we can't see it because we're in the DLC. Like, it plays a little bit like Straight Sword, but maybe a bit better, actually. What's the AR on this? 640. It's definitely more than a straight sword. At 640, that's like the damage you get from two-handed stuff. Very interesting. It's like, you know, it's an R2, so you get the good stun. So you can do like staggered R2s like that. I'm gonna try that a little more, actually. I think that's interesting. Frostro, thanks for the Twitch Prime sub. Welcome in, dude. Really appreciate that. You can change the map in the game where you see where there's invaders and people to invade. Yeah, we actually tried invading according to that map, and it did not work whatsoever. So I don't know like how reliable that is, but from my experience, like, we tried to invade according to where there was activity. We tried invading according to the red spots, the blue spots, the spots where there wasn't anything. Like, it was like there was no correlation whatsoever to the activity, so can't really rely on that. Sort of new to this, but would it be slower to taunt or stunk somewhere and wait rather than cycle and invade? Yeah, so actually how it works is like when you press the invade button, you're like under the hood, the game searches for like I don't know if it's like 5 areas. It's something like either 5 or 4. It searches for like 5 areas, and then there's like a 20-second cooldown before it searches for 5 more areas. So like you basically have like a little cooldown. So every time you use the invade thing, that's the respawn. Every time you use the invade thing, so you search 5 areas, and then it's going to keep searching these 5 areas. And obviously, you know, if it didn't find anything the first time with these 5 areas, maybe like a spot is going to open up and you're going to find an invasion in these 5 areas, like in a decent amount of time. But likely if you didn't find it at first, you're not going to find it within that 20-second window. And so it's like that system works when there's a ton of people playing the game, right? And it's not the case anymore. Like the game is old enough so that the activity died down a little bit. So it's better to just try to invade. Okay, there's nothing. Use the other invasion item. Try to invade. So you basically search like 5 areas at a time instead of having to wait like 20 seconds to search new ones. And by the way, I don't have like first-hand info on that. I didn't research that myself. Like this is like hearsay from other people who are knowledgeable. So again, like this info is not like this. There's a hole there. You know what? Let me try. What do I have here? Let me try this. I could fall off here. All right. Oh. So we're fighting here with no, not this. Fighting here with no, what's it called? No crits. He is laggy, but it doesn't actually matter. Shouldn't be a problem. Great fight. Also, if you can live with the weight, soft swap shotgun crossbow with the bolts is an hilarious way to clean up someone that survives the weed cutter. Yeah, that's why we have it. It's just a very good finisher overall. But you have to remember to keep it loaded though. Like we missed like I think 2 kills in this stream where the crossbow was not loaded. So you need to remember to always load it. You show the status. There you go. We theorized earlier that the 16 strength is not that necessary. The only reason to have 16 strength here is really to be using Hand of Millennia, which has a 16 strength requirement. Otherwise, technically, you could lower your strength all the way down to 12. But with Vagabond, you can only lower it all the way down to 14. So technically, you could make this a little more optimal by running the Samurai starting class, having 12 strength, and just putting your points elsewhere. But if you want to be using Hand of Millennia, I think it's worth it to have the stats to use it one-handed, because you want to swap to it to have access to the Ash right away. You don't want to have to two-handed to use the Ash. And also, you know, that one-handed R2 seems to be pretty nice as well. But yeah, I think I prefer having 16 strength to have access to that. But if you were not using 16 strength and you had, let's say, 12 strength, you'd put all the points in endurance that you're not using in strength. So you'd still have 80 dex, but you'd have, like, let's say 40 endurance, 42 endurance, depending on how you decide to allocate it. But as it stands right now, the build is very, very optimal. Like, you know, as technically the most optimal way you could do this is to scrap Hands of Millennia have 12 strength and put everything else in endurance, but you know, you could also like use like a beast helm, you know, a bird helm, like scrape some points into strength and dex, you know, and like be more efficient that way. But you know how it is, like these helmets are pretty ugly for the most part. So, and when you're playing at 150, you have more than enough stats. Like right now, maybe I could be making this even more optimal with like some of these beast helmets, but is it really necessary? No, it's not necessary at all. It's gonna start to be like marginal. And also when you're using the bird helm or these beast helm, you're opening yourself up to get slept very quickly. And you know, that's something that we utilized a lot recently. The like sleep crossbow becomes extremely dangerous when you have a beast helmet. The beast helmets are so ugly. Yeah, they are. Like, I really like the look of this armor. It's not the most optimal at all. Like, I would be better off wearing something else, but it's not like it's useless either. Like, you have some really good focus resist, which is kind of important. So, you know, you take what you can get. I'd not say like focused is important against this guy, right? But let's try to make him whiff and then whiff punish with that. Maybe a roll catch. No roll catch. And we're gonna get frosted on the next hit. Oh, he did not panic. That's surprising. That's actually this time though, when we trade with Rock, we're gonna tank it. Guys' rolls are not that bad actually. That's just unfortunate. It's just unlucky for him to get cornered like that. But yeah, the only thing about this build that might be a weakness is a lot of time for the Rakshasa trade, you would actually need Bull Goat. Like, Rakshasa Hype Armor is crazy and all, but you still need Bull Goat a lot of times. So ideally, if you wanted to make this build like really perfect, you'd have to find a way to scrap Great Jar and replace that with Bull Goat. And then, you know, you'd be a lot more comfortable. God damn it, I just looked at the time. You know, guys, I really like hockey, and playoff is starting right now, and then the Montreal Canadiens versus Tampa Bay Lightning game is starting, so I'm gonna do one last and then I'm gonna go watch the game. Can't miss that playoff. Unfortunate, we're having a good stream. Like, I probably would have kept going, but I really want to watch that playoff game. But I think I'm going to keep this build for another stream, though. I'm going to use this build again for the next stream. Because I really like the swaps that comes with it. And we still have not used, like, Claws of Night and barely used Falks and, you know. Alright, let's finish it with this guy. Sure, a crossbow is loaded. Unfortunate that these players don't know that they should be using their physic, I mean, but perfect block. Good fight. Oh! Okay, I was about to say, did he survive? Alright, guys. I'm gonna call it here. Thanks everyone for coming by. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the new people joining in and, you know, participating in chat. Very often we get new viewers and they, you know, they ask like stupid stuff, but a lot of interesting questions from the new people coming in here today. So I really appreciate that. All right, guys. Thanks everyone for coming by again. I'll catch you guys up next time. Take care, guys. I'm gonna go watch that hockey game. Or we're gonna use this build again next stream. All right. See you guys.